Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors all over the world. Today we talked to, this morning, somebody from the United Kingdom, a couple people from the United States of America, believe it or not. And then our next guest, Christiana Egi, is from Canada, Toronto, I believe.
Yes.
Is it, what time is it there, by the way?
At 4 o'clock, just a little bit, actually about 25 minutes to 5.
Yeah, a little after 4:30, 3-hour time difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know Canada if they have daylight savings time or not.
We do.
Okay, because America, we keep changing our time. We never know what time it is. You have some amazing books. I always like talking to you about your books. The one I liked was when we talked about A Rose for Grandma.
Yes.
But now your most recent book, I believe, is Unraveled.
It is.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So Unraveled was a book I created during COVID to help us understand what's going on around us, because a lot of our lives were unraveled by COVID. Yeah. And sometimes we don't even know what's unraveling our lives. So this book is a story about Grandpa, whose wife actually already was on the Alzheimer's journey. And through COVID, he started acting, differently. And the grandchildren became suspicious. As a matter of fact, Bill, the youngest grandson, thought Grandpa had Alzheimer's. And he announced that to the sister. When she asked, how did he find out? He said, well, no one told him, but then Sarah, the older sister, started acting like a detective to find out what's really happening with Grandpa. So she was taking notes. He was becoming too tired to play with Bill. And, he wasn't as happy as he used to be. And her mom actually had nights when she was whispering on the phone, not knowing that Sarah was watching, because her dad could not sleep. So he was having symptoms, which took him to the hospital several times, but they could not give him a diagnosis. So eventually, it was discovered that Grandpa actually did not have Alzheimer's, but was suffering from burnout. So when we all become overwhelmed and when stress is unchecked, it can lead to burnout. So most of us have been touched by burnout throughout COVID. And a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people quitting jobs, people medicating with drugs and alcohol, people withdrawing. Actually, up until this day, I still know some people who haven't fully come back to their usual social life because of COVID. So there's a mental health crisis out there. So it's just a book that tells us to self-care. Actually, it's I think Tony, it says, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first before you help someone else.
That's right.
So
now you're the executive director of Alexis Lodge Retirement Residence. Is that the inspiration for these books?
Yes. That's exactly the reason I write these books, because I look at what's happening in my organization, and it gives me a clear view of what's happening in families. Or even though dementia is a global epidemic, there's still not too much that is known about it, though it has come a very long way, but we're not talking about it. We're not talking about how it can be prevented. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know how to find resources. So what I did was to start writing children's books to break down the meaning and what it entails, the journey, because dementia is a devastating journey.
Yes.
It breaks families apart. And people sometimes get so angry with their loved ones, they cannot forgive. And like I said before, people can actually be so dedicated and determined to care for loved ones, they end up burning out. And some older adults actually will drop dead before the people they are caring for. So my whole goal is to help unmask dementia I want to enlighten people, support and also raise awareness against stigma, ageism, and mental illness. Because we live in a society that is not very friendly to people that are different.
Right.
So the books are not just for children, they are for adults as well.
Right. Now, back to this book, A Rose for Grandma. I see you're also executive director of A Rose for Grandma Wellness Hub. Tell us about
Yes.
the book and about the organization.
Okay, so the book, actually, there are two separate things, but I just love that name so much because we all need to extend roses to our grandmothers, great grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, grand aunts, and uncles because of what they've done already, that the parts that they've paid for us. So that is why I love A Rose for Grandma so much. It's like just extending roses as a thank you. So the book, it's about a grandmother that actually was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So dementia is an umbrella that, encompasses different diseases like Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia that so many people know about these days, and several other types of dementia. So Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. And so when this family uncovers that grandma had Alzheimer's, it was a very, very big blow to them. And Annie, who just adored her grandmother, was so broken, but she was determined to do everything to make life better for grandma. You see, dementia is not the end of life. It's actually just a change, and we all need to adapt. That is why it is so important that we know about dementia. We know what the journey is like, so we'll be able to support people. A lot of the time, people cut out children, care partners, they don't include children. But children are very resilient, they are very creative, they are very hardworking, and, just determined to help their loved, beloved grandparents. So together, as a family unit, they were able to help grandma along the way. And Annie, she was so struck with, the pain and the challenges of seeing her grandma in that condition that she was thinking about it even at school. When the teacher found out, she decided they should talk to the class about it. And so Annie was able to share. The teacher herself, her grandmother had Alzheimer's. And that way she found out that she was not alone. There were other kids in the classroom who also had these difficulties with their grandparents. So that made her feel much better. And with the help of her mom, they were able to create a scrapbook for grandma to help grandma remember in those times that she did not remember, because dementia causes you to lose memory.
Yeah.
So that is what happened with A Rose for Grandma. So it's just a beautiful book that helps family to understand the journey that they are on and to learn how to, join together to make life better for that loved one that is going through that disease process.
Now, here's another book, Unmasking Grandpa, and you have one more coming out. Is that right?
Actually, I have, Dancing with Memories, a journey through mixed dementia. So I'll talk about Unmasking Grandpa first.
Sure.
Unmasking Grandpa actually is a tribute to my son, Christopher, who was a basketball player. So my character, Tony Grandpa, was actually a basketball player. He was a man who was an athlete. He could have been drafted into the NBA, but was sidetracked by an injury. And then it took to working so hard to create his business, a sporting good business. In so doing, he forgot to take care of himself. And so vascular dementia is a disease that results from vascular diseases, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high blood cholesterol, and so forth. So Grandpa had high blood pressure, but he did not look after his condition. And so what happens is eventually you start to have little strokes, TIAs they call them, transient ischemic attacks, that actually destroys the brain to the point where you start to, have symptoms of dementia. You start to have memory problems and so forth. So that was the story of Grandpa Tony. So the little grandson, who was proudly named after the grandpa, also was so torn by this diagnosis. This was a man that he just adored. To see him exhibiting the symptoms that he did, forgetting, not remembering that, instead of sending out 3 boxes of goods, he sent 5, but he did not remember. On Thanksgiving Day, he shows up and forgets the turkey at home, like about 3 hours away. So those things really got to Tony. And being that Tony had taken after Grandpa, being a young basketball player, he continued to do his best to make Grandpa proud. And at the end of the book, you will see how Grandpa was able to eventually enjoy Tony's game, and the community had to recognize Grandpa for his hard work. Because what happened is one of the kids on Tony's team actually started laughing about the grandfather's situation. See, children, even adults, can be insensitive when people are different. So the grandmother encouraged Tony to use it as a teaching opportunity. So when he did a presentation at school, he was able to unmask his grandpa to the school to show what a type of a man he was before the disease. You are not the disease. You are who you are. Things may be different, but you still deserve respect, dignity, love, and, care. So that was what Tony did there, to help to open the eyes of his teammates and schoolmates, as well as adults, to come to understand that behind that person with an illness is someone who had been a great contributor to society.
Wow, that is great. Now we're about out of time, Christiana, sorry, but you have another book coming out. When is it going to be out, and what's the topic?
My book, Dancing with Memories, A Journey Through Mixed Dementia, is coming out on the 27th of May. And when you have 2 types of dementia, it's called mixed dementia. So assuming you have maybe Lewy body dementia and Alzheimer's, then you are considered to have mixed dementia. And this story, again, is about a grandmother who used to have dance parties with her granddaughter, Lexi. And, as grandma started to decline, and they were trying to move grandma into a memory care facility, such as the one I run, Alexis Lodge Retirement Residences. Grandma, Lexi had tears in her eyes, and grandma, was really touched and said, "Why are you crying?" And she asked, "Would we be able to dance again, grandma?" And grandma said, "When will you remember for me? In those times when I forget, will you remember for me?"
Wow.
In other words, keep the memories going. So hence the title, Dancing with Memories.
That's beautiful. Tell us, I have your web address on the screen, ChristianaEgi.com. What will our viewers find there?
Actually, when you go to my website, you'll see some information about my book, some information about what I do. A dementia advocate. I'm always, using any opportunity I get as an opportunity to raise awareness, to educate, and to encourage people that are going through dementia. As well, I have a podcast, a new podcast called Unmasking Dementia, Lived Experiences. And this talks, in this podcast, I talk to families who have been through the challenges of caring for loved ones with dementia. Because, even though everyone's journey is unique, shared experiences often brings a lot of comfort and support to people that are actually going through the journey. As well, I bring on professionals to lead the way into treatment, management, and possible prevention of dementia.
Well, it's important to be talking about it and to be aware of it, and I love your approach with the books that adults and children should read and grandparents should read, and they could read them to their grandchildren. And I'm sure they're available at Amazon and all the usual places.
They are, and I'm very proud to say that you can find Unmasking Grandpa at the Harvard University Bookshop. As well, the Montana State University uses my book, A Rose for Grandma, as part of their children's dementia study, and that brings me a lot of joy.
That is wonderful. Christiana Egi, we are totally out of time. We went over time, but I could talk to you all day. It's a very important subject, and I appreciate your approach and all of your good works.
Thank you very much for having me.
And we will be back with more authors right after this.
Okay, bye.
Right out.
Okay.